Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Another StarCraft 2 commentary for you today. This time we are looking at a game between Complexity's CatZ and DuckloadRa, also known as WhiteRa. Now, I have had questions in the past when referring to said DuckloadRa as WhiteRa. What are you doing, Force? Well, WhiteRa was his name in the beta, and actually I believe he recently rechanged it to WhiteRa as well. I'm really, in all honesty, not sure if he's still sponsored by Duckload or not. Either way, though, no matter, regardless of whatever the case is, I refer to him as WhiteRa just because that's what I knew him as in the beta. So there you go. Even when you see DuckloadRa, I will be calling him WhiteRa. Yes, we are on Tal'Darim Altar. Here in the upper left position is CatZ as our yellow Zerg player. And down over here in the bottom right, we do have WhiteRa as the red Protoss player. Protoss versus Zerg here on Tal'Darim Altar. Another single game here, no series today at all, so this is going to be actually a full day of single games, no best ofs whatsoever. Be sure to let me know what you guys think. I know some people love the best of series, but I know some people prefer the single games. Something else to say about the best of series is there's a general taper, as the games progress from the first to the last game. The last game almost always has a smaller amount of views than the first game does, so people don't tend to, at least apparently, don't tend to keep interest in the series for that long. Really not sure why, but I suppose after you've watched 2 or 3 20, 30-minute games, people only have so much time to watch StarCraft, you know? So anyways, we can see WhiteRa moving his way across the map. It does appear to be the case that he will be going out with a Forge Fast Expand opening here in this game. At the same time, we do have CatZ opening up hatch first here and then moving out with his drone scout. He will be scouting out that probe, so of course wants to keep a close eye on that, making sure that his overlord is situated here so they can see exactly where that probe is and what he is doing. Definitely want to make sure that he's not up to any kind of crazy shenanigans, especially with that Forge Fast Expand. It's quite easy to place a cannon or two right behind the resource line and really mess up your day as a Zerg player. So something you need to avoid, and look at that, WhiteRa planning to do some harass, or at least feign it if nothing else. Coming down with that threat of that pylon could very well force CatZ to pull guys off the line just to kill it, or he can keep it up and then WhiteRa would be able to drop down some cannons. So there you go, just the feign of that pylon. Oh no, the pylon finishes, so here come the cannons. WhiteRa gonna be dropping some cannons here right outside of CatZ's expansion, and oh my gosh, this is a very big headache right now for CatZ. Now he's going to be target firing down those as much as possible to kill a probe. Yes, he does. Now let's see if WhiteRa actually lets these finish or if he decides to cancel them. As you can see, these two are going to be incredibly damaged once they do eventually pop. So WhiteRa may be properly advised to actually kill these off. Let's see what he does. Is he going to let it finish? Yes, he does. He's going to let it finish. And oh my gosh, watch it start to go to town on these workers. Now we do have these two cannons. This one dangerously low, and WhiteRa doing a little bit of damage. Not a ton, but he is killing off a lot of workers right now. And pretty nice. Let's take a look here at the total resources lost for both players. Looks like WhiteRa quite a bit behind, in all honesty. He will be losing this pylon as well. Although at the moment, CatZ is content to just leave it be and go about his mining. We got a couple of Zerglings coming out. So overall, WhiteRa didn't end up doing as much damage as he may have liked there. We can see his expansion about halfway done right now. He does have that cannon coming close to finish and just now getting in his gateway. So you can see right there just how far behind that set WhiteRa. I mean, he had 3 cannons up, plus that pylon. That is a lot of resources. Let me do the math right now. It's going to be 400 plus 150. That is 550 resources total. The WhiteRa ended up losing because of that. Yes, the 3 cannons plus that pylon. That's a lot of resources again, so very unfortunate situation. What is this? I didn't even see this. CatZ coming out, attempting at least to come out with a hatchery inside of WhiteRa's main base. This is just bonkers right now. What an opening to this game. Now, I don't expect this to finish at all, especially since WhiteRa is threatening with this cannon here. We'd have a couple Zerglings moving across the map, and I cannot believe this. Proxy hatch inside of the main base, and WhiteRa a little bit concerned. He's actually going to make sure he comes out with a second cannon as well, just to be certain. Now, we should see, I think he might wait till the cannon finishes and then cancel this. So again, forcing the loss of even more resources. Let's see what CatZ decides to do, though. Is he actually going to let this finish or not? Couple Zerglings situated right out front of the main, and there we go, canceling it off. Now let's see if WhiteRa manages to cancel this photon cannon as well. There we go. But again, look at this. These are wasted resources. This does nothing for WhiteRa this game. So already at the start of this game, WhiteRa incredibly far behind. I'm obviously going to say that overall, it turned out that cannon harass at this expansion unfortunately proved to be a little bit of a mistake, and it could have done a lot more damage. Again, honestly, if those cannons just had a few more seconds of not being harassed, so that would have allowed him to gain up a lot more HP, they would have actually torn through the rest of those workers and then just gone to town on that hatchery. So that really could have gone the other way. You know, in a moment's notice, if WhiteRa had just a few more seconds with that, then he would have been in a much better position. But right now, WhiteRa really far behind. Let's take a look here at the units the resources lost. Again, 900 resources lost total here for WhiteRa. I do want to take a look at workers killed. WhiteRa has killed a total of 7 workers, so he did manage to kill 7 probes total there. 7 drones total, but still, is that enough? That's the question, and I am not certain that it will be. Now, obviously, the game is not over. WhiteRa is certainly a very strong player and certainly can get himself back in this game, but he needs to make sure he does do some damage, because I am a little bit concerned for him economically. Although it does look like at the moment, due to chrono boosting out some workers, WhiteRa is actually in a pretty solid position when it comes to income. It seems like that initial loss of workers for CatZ really did set him behind quite a bit. Now we do have that layer coming through, metabolic boost finally working its way on through as well. We're sitting at 4 total extractors here for CatZ. Now let's take a look over here. It looks like WhiteRa is preparing to move into this expansion. That Zergling scouting out the fact that WhiteRa was working down at that rocks. That tips CatZ off to say, hey, you know what, WhiteRa could very well be moving into that expo. And unfortunately, not paying quite enough attention to that Zergling, ended up losing that one there. Apparently, though, CatZ isn't all too concerned. We do have an Overlord sitting idly in this position. Would possibly like to see him move, although this isn't the worst thing, because later in the game, he would have been able to scout if WhiteRa did attempt to expand right up there. Now, we do have a Stalker moving across the map. Looks like he will be attempting to grab those towers, get a little bit of scouting, and a little bit of map control here of the vision of the center of the map. Just wants to get some vision and see what's going on. And it looks like he's in fact checking for a possible expansion down for CatZ right over here in this position. Although as we can see, that is not taking place right there. We have spreaded some creep back here for CatZ as well. That's fairly interesting, and it looks like CatZ will be looking to move into his third. And there we go, WhiteRa brazenly coming out with that third expansion. He's feeling fairly comfortable in doing this. Now this is a very tentative situation right now, because if CatZ were to mount up and push out with a very strong force right now, he could really do a lot of damage to WhiteRa. In fact, there really wouldn't be that much WhiteRa could do. You can take a look here. Total number of units that he has. He's just sitting on 3 Zealots, a Stalker, and 2 Sentries. That is not a lot. So if CatZ were to have stuck to 2 bases and just pushed out with a very strong aggressive push, he really could have messed up WhiteRa's third expansion at the very least. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like that's going to be happening right now. Appears to be that CatZ will in fact be coming out with 12 mutas, and at the same time moving into his expansion. So we do have 12 mutas that will be coming on, making their way onto the board very shortly. Finally, right now, WhiteRa moving out with that observer scout. He should be checking and scouting out the fact that those mutas are coming. Looks like we will be seeing actually at a total of 13. We do have an evolution chamber coming out front there as well. Now I'm seeing some War Prism play as well as that Dark Shrine. So here we go. This is precisely what WhiteRa is going to be attempting to do. He wants to kind of try to mix things up a little bit and try to harass and do some damage and basically catch CatZ by surprise with those DT plus that War Prism harass. We also have a movement here into Colossus. You can see that Robotics Bay coming out. My major concern right now, though, for WhiteRa is we have quite a hefty amount of mutas moving across the map. Now we are just sitting on this total of what appears to be, yes, it is 13 mutas total. Transition coming out to Infestors as well. We can see that Infestation pick coming through. And here we go, going to be moving forward, trying to do a little bit of damage. We got a couple Stalkers being warped in, and hopefully CatZ pulls back. Don't really want to engage those Stalkers. However, feeling comfortable with that low Stalker count. I am a bit concerned, though. That's really not the greatest engagement, especially with that Guardian shield up. That cuts back on that splash damage drastically from those mutas and makes them that much less effective. However, some nice micro CatZ managing to do quite a bit of damage. Now, are we seeing that War Prism come into play anywhere? It doesn't look like that's happening quite yet. So right now, WhiteRa just dealing with this muta harass here. And again, I'm trying to find the War Prism. Not going to happen, though. And these mutas getting sandwiched right now by some more Stalkers. Mutas need to be careful. They're sticking in, though, doing what they can to take out these Stalkers and doing actually massive damage right now. It looks like, though, CatZ should be losing these mutas and, yes, forced to push back right now. Sacrificing mutas to kill off a few Stalkers really isn't typically the best decision, in all honesty, especially given the fact that mutas are so much more expensive. Now, I was spotting around the map because I was under the impression that WhiteRa had moved out with that War Prism. However, that's going to get spotted right now by these mutas, and that's a very unfortunate situation for WhiteRa. He's going to be losing all of this right now. Nothing he can really do. He's going to actually attempt to walk back home with his forces. However, not really sure how far he's going to get. We've got a couple of Stalkers being warped into the low ground. Going to get 2 muta kills right there, and that's going to force CatZ to pull back right now. So WhiteRa taking a bit of losses, but at the same time, we did see pretty heavy losses there for CatZ, and the fact that he lost a bunch of those mutas. We got Stalkers pulling back and ready to defend this base over here. What do we have here? We got some more mutas coming on in as well. So CatZ getting ready to go forward with some additional engagements here with these mutas. And unfortunately, the Stalker is blocked by WhiteRa's own Zealot, so hopefully he takes care of that, because here come the mutas right now. There we go, moving on into the resource line. Stalkers moving forward to engage. WhiteRa just about finished with that Blink research. He's also got those weapons level 3 coming into play as well. Once he gets Blink Stalkers on the map, he's going to actually be in a much better position. Looks like we're going to be seeing some DT warped in right now. Don't expect him to do too much damage, but they could do a great job of scouting additional expansions for whenever CatZ does attempt to expand into his 4th and 5th. Now, we do actually have the 4th coming up right now, so it would be a 5th and 6th that he would be attempting to expand into. However, right now, this isn't really protected against DT at all, so we could see WhiteRa move in there with a couple of DT and do pretty massive amounts of damage. And you can see the DT right now fanning out. We also have that Warp Prism moving in this direction. And this expansion is going to be forced to cancel, likely if those DT roll down, but actually, no, there's DT going to be working right into that 3rd expansion. Mutas continuing to try to do a little bit of harassment now. Here come those Dark Templar. Going to get a full surround there. WhiteRa there finally pulling back. Managed to lose that one DT that was spotted by that Spore Crawler, plus that Spine and the Zergling surround, more than enough to take care of a single DT. Mutas continuing to make their way across the map and trying to do some additional harassment here against WhiteRa. And let's see if he can manage to get any more. There's no protection right now by Stalkers, and there we go. Mutas doing a bit of damage here, killing off a few workers and then retreating. They don't really want to walk into those cannons. We'll be trying to drop this assimilator. Here come the Blink Stalkers, though. One free muta kill there for WhiteRa, blocked off by his own wall. Now those DT, where did they end up going to? That is the major question right now. We've got the one DT over here, and I do not see any additional ones. We got a couple more being warped in over here, and actually one sitting in that Warp Prism. So we will be seeing WhiteRa attempt to actually drop this right now, and it looks like he's actually going straight for that natural expansion. Now we got mutas moving across the map, but not going to actually get to that Warp Prism with dropping those DT in time, and this could be pretty rough. But here comes that Fungal Growth right on top of those Dark Templar, and without issue, CatZ quite handedly deals with the DT harass and takes out that Warp Prism as well. We've got a very, very, very heavy Blink Stalker force moving across the map right now, though, for WhiteRa. And WhiteRa attempting to move up in this expansion. He does realize that he needs to do some damage because he has been severely behind this entire game. So here we go, finally Blink Stalkers moving forward. Now we have a couple Infestors as well. Zerglings moving down to try to deal with that. However, it looks like CatZ will be losing this. Not canceling his Queen. Second it pops, it got taken out. And those Blink Stalkers having no problem taking out this expansion. As a result, we're going to be seeing a counterattack here. CatZ spotting WhiteRa's attempted expansion over here. And actually, yeah, there we go. Stays in with some Zealots to finish that off. And then retreats with those Blink Stalkers to attempt to deal with this harass that's coming down. That's going to get forced cancel right there. WhiteRa forced to cancel that expansion. Here come the Blink Stalkers. We got a couple of Infestors here. Do those get sniped? WhiteRa, is he going to snipe the... Oh my gosh, completely missing with the Fungal Growth. CatZ lost all his Infestors, did no damage with it. That's going to force him to retreat right now. I'm going to try to keep an eye on these expansions again, because with DT on the map, you really got to keep an eye as to where that harass is going down, because at any moment he could have, like this, some rogue DT sending out. So this DT will be working down here to CatZ expansion, and this is currently his 4th expansion. Now I do expect that to do a little bit of damage. Actually, he will be just situating himself right there at the Xel'Naga Tower right now, just getting a little bit of vision of the center of the map. Now we are seeing pretty Blink Stalker heavy here for WhiteRa. He is up at the 3 weapons upgrade, finally getting some armor, and we got that transition into Colossus working out as well. Right now sitting with 1 Colossus. Here comes that 2nd Colossus Thermal Lance, just about to finish. So WhiteRa getting that Infestor kill certainly helped him a bit. It helped catch him up just a wee bit. However, I don't know that it was really enough right now. There's the DT moving on down, pulling himself away from that Xel'Naga Tower momentarily to move down to this expansion. He's going to do a bit of damage. Won't be able to kill it off, though. We're going to see that Overseer coming on in. That's going to prevent him from being able to finish it off. But the fact that he's weakening this up is actually good, simply because weakening up is going to allow him to actually kill it much easier at any eventual later game pushes. Some Blink Stalkers moving in. It'll take just a few shots to kill off a hatchery that's at half HP. So CatZ, unfortunately, taking a bit of damage over there at that expo. We got a couple of cannons coming on in here for WhiteRa as a little bit of stationary defense. And here we go, KatZ mobilizing, moving across the center of the map. We got quite a bit of forces here, pretty still Blink Stalker heavy. We got more Colossus coming out. Finally, the armor upgrades working on in as well. What do we have for upgrades here? One Carapace. Does he have any melee upgrades? 2 melee upgrades as well. That's a lot of Infestors right now. Also working his way up to Hive Tech. We've got that Neural Parasite coming out. Almost finished that Missile level 2 and Carapace level 2 as well. Blink Stalkers trying to blink forward and kill off a few mutas ever walking right into Speedlings. And here we go. Time for a big engagement right now. Colossus and Blink Stalkers. We are going to see those Infestors try to fungal growth. A little bit of Miss Micro though, walking into those Blink Stalkers. We've got those mutas moving forward, attempting to take out those Colossus, doing a decent job. However, WhiteRa overpowering KatZ right there. Really big problem there for KatZ. Was some big Miss Micro. He lost a ton of Infestors. He literally walked them right into those Blink Stalkers. It's really a matter of positioning, and you can't get caught in that position at all because that's just a very bad situation to be. Losing those Infestors so very expensive. Let's take a look, and look at that. That one engagement. WhiteRa was behind this entire game, and that one engagement was enough to even things up. So WhiteRa getting a big advantage there, and he will be moving on to this expansion. As mentioned prior that he had weakened up. We are going to see KatZ try to prevent this from happening. I don't think he's going to be able to mobilize in time, though. Might be just trying to sandwich WhiteRa after he kills off this Expo, but here we go. KatZ will be losing this, and we do have KatZ moving from the backside. Going to be catching those Colossus by surprise. WhiteRa needs to micro this back. There we go. Finally pulling them to the back. Blinking those Stalkers forward to provide that meat shield. That expansion is down. Very, very nice there by WhiteRa. Again, weakening that up with his DT and then pushing in at a later date. We've got a couple Corruptors that will be moving forward and trying to take out those Colossus, and they should do a decent job of that. There are a lot of Blink Stalkers, though, and actually target firing down a few of those Corruptors. One Colossus still continuing to go down. That finally does get dropped. However, WhiteRa being so Blink Stalker heavy, having more than enough. We got some Speedlings moving in to attempt to mop up the rest of these Stalkers with some Micro, though WhiteRa should actually be okay. And look at that, taking care of the rest of those Speedlings, forcing back the army. A couple of Archons pushing forward right now, and this is looking very, very nice for WhiteRa. WhiteRa really pinning KatZ and putting him on his back foot right now. There's really not a lot at this moment in time that KatZ can do. He is very, very far behind. Let's take a look here at the income tab. You can see how far ahead WhiteRa is at the moment. Also want to take a look here at the unit lost, and again, WhiteRa quite a bit ahead. And let's take a look lastly at the total number of workers killed. Looks like KatZ has managed to kill off actually more workers than WhiteRa has, but honestly, that's not the biggest deciding factor here. The truth of the matter is that income-wise, WhiteRa's ahead. You know, units lost-wise, WhiteRa's ahead, so overall, definitely sitting in a very, very strong position. We got a couple Speedlings attempting to move into the Expo, but again, you can see what just a few cannons will deter. Those Speedlings, were it not for those cannons, would have easily been able to mop up all these workers and take out that base. But again, a couple cannons, more than enough to provide some pretty solid defense. WhiteRa moving down with this Stalker. Just spotting for expansions later down the road. We have a DT situated over here. We'll be taking out that extractor and then just kind of chilling out in this position. Again, if KatZ attempts to expand, he will be forced to move down here with army and cloak detection. And that's one of those things. It may seem like a small deal and like not a big problem at all, but it's that kind of thing that really deters people from expanding during the late game. So KatZ going to really have a hard time doing this right now, and he has to keep an eye on WhiteRa's main army that we can see moving across the map. Now we do have a lot of Infestors coming out. Look at this one DT going to town over here. He's got 15 kills. I'm guessing most of those are workers and doing a lot of damage. And we're going to see the rest of the forces here. WhiteRa push in to mop it up. No, we're not. Looks like he's retreating right now. Doesn't actually want to commit to that engagement quite as of yet. Sitting with a lot of Archons. Now, keep in mind, we have a lot of Infestors coming out, but in all honesty, KatZ so far behind economically. Look at that. His main is mined out. That third almost mined out, and that natural pretty much completely mined out as well. And that is why KatZ was so, so focused on defending this expansion, because had he lost that, that would have been the GG right there. But KatZ trying to do what he can to stick in the game, but in all honesty, WhiteRa so far ahead. Look at that huge income advantage right now. WhiteRa just in a fantastic position. He's sitting with a lot of Archons as well, so he's going to be making that push right now, and this is going to be pretty devastating at this moment. In all honesty, for KatZ, I'm not sure what he can do against all of these Archons. So much splash damage that's going to be taken, and we do have a few Broodlords in play. Keep in mind those Blink Stalkers will do a decent job against those. However, there aren't a lot of Blink Stalkers sitting, in fact, mostly on Archons. Now, WhiteRa is completely supply capped right now. We're going to be seeing KatZ push from the backside. We saw quickly WhiteRa took out that expansion. In fact, so quick that I missed it. But here comes the push right now. That Blink Stalkers will be going straight under those Broodlords. Need to try to target fire them down. We do have a Neo Parasite going down and one Archon. Don't know that that's going to be enough, though. A couple Archons move forward to Blink to take out some of those Blink Stalkers. However, the last of those Brewlords were taken care of. There's still so many Archons here, and CatZ forced to call the GG. Alright guys, pretty crazy game here between WhiteRa and CatZ. Hopefully you guys did enjoy it. It was absolutely an insane insane openers from both players. But the transition there into the mid game, you know, WhiteRa was quite a bit behind for a majority of the time. However, with some strong economy and managing to win a few key battles, it proved to be enough to set WhiteRa ahead and actually pull through with the win. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you have enjoyed this commentary. As always, if you like the content, please subscribe. Thanks again guys. Keep watching and keep owning.